Chapter 1. News of the selection of legacy disciples. You are listening at novelfull.audio. East Baron, Tian Xian Sect, Qing Xian Market. The atmosphere was quite lively, and there were a lot of people coming and going. They were in a hurry, not wanting to waste any time. Occasionally, there were a few streaks of light that quickly flew across the sky, making people envious. He Chinga was rushing about the market, searching for what he needed. As usual, he bought the black jade stone that the golden jade white tiger liked, the sky grass that the ironback black cow liked, and the sour fruit that the white spirit sheep liked. He also bought 20 caddies of spirit rice, 2 caddies of demon beast meat, and some daily necessities. Tian Xian Sect, Imperial Beast Peak, Spirit Beast Garden No. 3. He Chinga had a smile on his honest face. He was gently stroking the big white cat, the golden jade white tiger. He was humming a song, but it was out of tune. He looked very relaxed, seemingly in a good mood. Why are you in such a good mood today? You have a silly smile on your face. Are you daydreaming about something beautiful? A pleasant voice interrupted He Chinga's thoughts. Of course, He Chinga was in a good mood. He was finally about to accumulate 10,000 points from the Imperial Beast Peak. At the end of this month, he could exchange for a young spirit beast with the potential to build his foundation. This was the result of his 20 years of hard work. His strength should be able to increase quickly from then onward. He had reincarnated. To put it simply, he transmigrated, and his journey thus far had been smooth sailing. When he was 6 years old, he was tested to have a spiritual root purity of 20. From then on, he embarked on the path of immortal cultivation. He was kind to others and good at dancing. He had never taken on a mission far away from the sect. His life was peaceful and easy. Now, he was already 26 years old and had reached the 4th level of chi refinement. However, a spiritual root purity of 20 was too low. He was able to enter the sect because of his young age and strong willpower, which allowed him to pass the test of willpower. When he cultivated to the 1st level of chi refinement, he awakened a powerful talent, Heart of the Beast. Talent. The Heart of Beast Taming, Abilities. 1. Contract. You can contract a pet for every major realm increase. At the time of the contract, the pet's cultivation level must not be higher than your own by 1 major realm. 2. Sharing. All the abilities and talents of the contracted pet can be shared. 3. Pet affinity. All spirit beasts will have a good impression of you the first time they see you. 4. Insight. You're able to gain a simple insight into the information of spirit beasts. This was also the reason why he was able to become the manager of Spirit Beast Garden No. 3 despite his mediocre strength and cultivation talent. The spirit beasts in the Spirit Beast Garden had a good impression of him. If it was not for the fact that his spirit root purity was relatively low, he would have been able to become an outer sect disciple of the Imperial Beast Peak with just his affinity with spirit beasts. Now, he could only be considered a servant disciple. In his previous life, he read many cultivation and fantasy novels. Naturally, he knew he had to be cautious and hide his talent. After all, he did not know if there were any methods to seize talents in this world, such as digging out the Supreme Being bone, seizing the divine pulse, or transplanting the spiritual root. He had always been cautious in his actions. The most important thing was that he felt that his talent was too abnormal, so he did not dare to expose it. If he directly contracted a few spirit beasts, the consequences would be unimaginable. A spiritual root purity of 20 was considered a relatively low level. Everyone in this world had spiritual roots, and the purity of spiritual roots affected the efficiency and quality of cultivation. It could be said to be quite important. That was why He Chinga had decided to buy a baby spirit beast with the potential to build his foundation. However, even if a spirit beast with the potential to refine chi could increase his affinity with spiritual chi, the effects would be limited. After all, it was extremely difficult for a spirit beast with the potential to refine chi to break through to the foundation level. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, Chinga quickly said, "Good lady, I don't have any extra 100 beast milk here. If you want to drink it, you have to wait until next month. Give me your share and I'll tell you some good news." Su Zime's eyes curved into a charming smile. Her black hair and veil were not exposed, and her pink feet were bare but spotless. What news? From Su Zime's feet, he could tell that she was at least at the foundation establishment stage. Fortunately, he had met her early on. Otherwise, with his current strength and status, it would be impossible for him to talk to her. "Give it to me first." Su Zime waved her hand. Her fair palm was more beautiful than jade. Chinga calmed down and did not look at her anymore. Such enchanting beauties were not something he could covet. Su Zime found Chinga's cautious behavior funny. He was still cautious to this day. "Here." As he spoke, he took out a jar of 100 beast milk. Su Zime took a big gulp of the 100 beast milk, leaving a white trace on the corner of her mouth. Then, she patted her stomach in satisfaction. "Your 100 beast milk is still the best. Speak. What news do you have?" Chinga's expression was solemn. He knew that Su Zime must have some important news. Su Zime looked at the senseless man in front of her and felt a little angry. He used to be so good to her when she was young and even told her stories, but as she grew up, he became more and more distant from her. "Humph. My master is preparing to select the legacy disciples of Imperial Beast Peak." Su Zime snorted. "You call this good news? What does it have to do with me?" Chinga did not seem to care. He knew his own limits. There were countless people in Imperial Beast Peak who were stronger than him. No matter what, it was impossible for him to get a place. "My master adopts a unique approach in his selection of disciples. You might have a chance." Su Zi smiled charmingly. "What do you mean?" Chinga suddenly became spirited. If he could really find a backer, then he would. "Sigh, I suddenly feel a little hungry." Su Zime gently caressed her lower abdomen with an uncomfortable expression on her face. Chinga was clearly annoyed. This lady was really good at acting. He looked up at the sky and said, "It just so happens that it's noon now. I bought some demon beast meat today. Why don't you stay and try my cooking? Since you're so enthusiastic and I can't bear to reject you, I'll accept your invitation." Su Zime immediately lay down on Chinga's rocking chair. She was relaxed and had no intention of acting reserved at all. Chinga was a little amused and touched. It was rare for a cultivator at the foundation establishment stage to talk to him, a mere 4th level chi refinement cultivator, so calmly. In his previous life, Chinga was an online writer and a part-time food blogger. His cooking skills were not bad. With a smile, he prepared the meat of the ironback pork that he had just bought. His courtyard was filled with a rich fragrance. Su Zime's nose twitched slightly, and her throat moved slightly. Looking at the busy Chinga, she really wanted him to cook for her for the rest of her life so that she could eat different delicacies each time. After the meal, Chinga asked again, "What are the specifics?" "This time, my master won't look at talent or strength when selecting legacy disciples. He'll look at luck." Su Zime did not hide anything. "Luck?" Chinga frowned. It was not that he did not believe it but that this made it even more difficult. There was a chance of success if one worked hard according to one's talent and strength, but if one were to rely on luck, then it was purely dependent on the heavens. Su Zime's master was the peak master of Imperial Beast Peak, and he was at least a nascent soul, perfected lord. Being able to cling to someone like him would guarantee his safety. He naturally did not want to miss the opportunity. He. Looking at Chinga's helpless expression, Su Zime raised her head slightly. The corners of her mouth were curled up as if she was saying, "Beg me, then." You have a way. Hichinga looked at Su Zime's sly smile and asked. I just don't know if you'll trust me or not. Could it be that you know the selection questions and the answers? Of course, I know the selection questions, but I don't have the answers. Even so, my luck has always been good. Su Zime was smug as she stared at Hichinga. So, do you trust me? Tell me. I'll only tell you if you trust me. Otherwise, it might interfere with your choice and cause you to hesitate. Su Zime shook her head. Hichinga simply said, I trust you. Now tell me. He had never thought that he would get the chance to become the Peak Master's disciple. His luck could only be said to be average. He definitely could not rely on himself for this selection. I'm just giving you a reminder. Su Zime suddenly approached Hichinga and whispered in his ear before leaving. Hichinga was stunned for a moment and murmured, everything is 3 times. Su Zime's words seemed to make no sense. A few days later, as the end of the month approached, Hichinga's mood gradually soared. His chance to change his fate was coming. Chapter 2. Uninvited guest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The wind chimes in the garden rang, notifying that someone was outside. They worked the same way as doorbells. Hichinga raised his eyebrow. Why would anyone come here at this time? However, he still carried the big white cat and walked out with a standard smile on his face. And you are? Looking at the unfamiliar face in front of him, the man's aura was roughly in the late stage of qi refinement. I'm Zhang Lingmu from the Zhang family of Qingxian Peak. Before he could finish his sentence, Hichinga's heart was already in his throat. The Zhang family being mentioned was never a good thing. It was obvious that this man had other requests, and he was even demanding. He was using his family background to pressure Hichinga. His mind raced as he thought about the Zhang family. There were hundreds of Zhang family members in Tianxian sect, if not thousands. How strong were they? Could they affect him? Qingxian Peak was one of the 108 main peaks of Tianxian sect. Among them, there was only one Zhang family, and that was the family established by the inner sect elder, Zhang Xuanyu. So, it's the Zhang family. Senior Zhang, please come in. Hichinga welcomed the man with a smile, but he had a lot of worries in his heart. Although safety in the sect was guaranteed, there were plenty of ways to suppress those who offended the big shots. At the end of the day, cultivation was the survival of the fittest. Senior Zhang, try this year's green spirit tea. Hichinga brewed some tea to entertain him. Zhang Lingmu glanced at it, and a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes. This was the lowest grade of spirit tea and did not have much value. However, he did not show it. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. The mouthfeel is not bad. The taste is fresh and elegant. It's good that you like it. After a simple chat. Lil He, I heard that you've been in Imperial Beast Peak for 20 years and have accumulated quite a lot of points. Zhang Lingmu stared at Hichinga. Hichinga's heart turned cold. He could chat about everything else, but the points of Imperial Beast Peak had to do with his life and his future. In order to accumulate points, he had spent a whole 20 years. Senior, what do you mean? Our Zhang family needs some points from Imperial Beast Peak. Of course, we can exchange them with you. We can use the points from Alchemy Peak to exchange with you. At that time, your strength can increase rapidly. These are Alchemy Peak points we're talking about. Ordinary people would not have the chance to exchange for them. The points of each peak could only be exchanged for items at each peak. This was a way of balance. Senior, how many points do you need? In the end, Hichinga asked. If it was not too much, he would just bear with it. It's not me who needs them, it's the Zhang family who needs them. 8,000 points can be exchanged with 3,000 Alchemy Peak points. Zhang Lingmu put down the teacup in his hand and looked at Hichinga indifferently. Hichinga's heart turned cold. Well, if he did not need points, why did he come to look for him? He was the only one in the entire Imperial Beast Peak who had tirelessly accumulated 20 years of points. The main reason was that the points of Imperial Beast Peak were generally not worth much. Very few people took the initiative to exchange for the points of Imperial Beast Peak. Although he had accumulated a lot, no one had ever found trouble with him in this area. "Senior, you should know the use of my points, right?" Hichinga said after a short silence. "Why? Are you not satisfied with this deal?" Zhang Lingmu's eyes turned green, and an aura burst forth. Hichinga suddenly felt a sinister aura assaulting his face. His entire body stiffened, and he felt a chill run down his spine. He was shocked, and cold sweat trickled down his back. Suddenly, a deafening tiger roar sounded from Hichinga's arms. The golden jade white tiger jumped out and bared its teeth at Zhang Lingmu, helping Hichinga resist the cold aura. Zhang Lingmu felt dizzy from the tiger's roar, and his body collapsed to the ground. "Good move. I heard that you had an affinity with spirit beasts. I didn't expect you to be able to control spirit beasts that are so much stronger than you." Zhang Lingmu quickly stood up and looked deeply at Hichinga. At the same time, he felt very ashamed. His eyes were red. He had really lost all his dignity today. However, seeing that he could not defeat the golden jade white tiger, he gritted his teeth. Hichinga, who was at the 4th level of Qi refinement, could actually be protected by the golden jade white tiger, who was at the 12th level of Qi refinement. Then you should understand how important the points of Imperial Beast Peak are to me, right? The points that I have accumulated are to be exchanged for a young spirit beast with the potential to build my foundation. My talent is so poor that I don't think about how high my cultivation can be. I just want to live a safe life and have a high-grade spirit beast to protect me in my later years. Alchemy peak points won't be of much help to me. A young spirit beast with the potential to build your foundation. Zhang Lingmu sighed at Hichinga's naivety. How could it be so easy to nurture? Spirit beasts generally had longer lifespans than humans, but the price was that their growth speed was slower than humans. You've been in the spirit beast garden for 20 years, so you should know better than me that spirit beasts grow much slower than humans. There was already a hint of threat behind his words. I can leave it to my family as a foundation. Family? Hee, that means you intend to refuse. Zhang Lingmu's voice turned cold, but he was sneering in his heart. He even hoped that Hichinga would reject him sternly. This way, he could directly let his master take revenge and help him vent his anger from being humiliated just now. You can't say that. If you're willing to take out a spirit beast cub with the potential to build my foundation that I'm satisfied with, you can take these points. What are your requirements for a spirit beast you'll be satisfied with? 10,000. Old black tortoise, sound, gathering butterfly, dragon scale horse, Chilan beast, 7. Colored bird. Nothing else, unless the spirit beast has higher potential. Hichinga listed the names of all the spirit beasts that he could accept. These were the most suitable spirit beasts for him to contract after so many years of careful exploration. He had not spent 20 years in Imperial Beast Peak in vain. Among the Foundation establishment young of the Imperial Beast Peak, there was a 10,000. Old black tortoise and a 7. Colored bird. Under the observation of the Eye of Insight, the 10,000. Old black tortoise had the ability of longevity. It could live for 10,000 years at the Foundation establishment stage. It was equivalent to a human immortal cultivator who far exceeded the soul formation stage. One could imagine how terrifying it was. When a contract with a spirit beast was signed, its effects would be shared. Thus, Hichinga would share the tortoise's longevity ability and easily achieve small longevity. What was the point of cultivating? Was it not just to live forever and watch the world change? It was a pity that 1/3 of the 10,000. Old black tortoise's lifespan had passed and it had yet to break through to the Foundation establishment realm. If it did not break through soon, it would die of old age. It was precisely because of this that it could be exchanged. The 7-colored bird was the strongest among the spirit beasts at the foundational level. At the same time, it had the 5 elements, yin and yang attributes, and Hichinga's spiritual root attributes. Zhang Lingmu pondered. These spirit beasts did not seem to have anything in common. Why did he ask for them? I'll relay your request. As for whether it'll work out or not, I can't say. Zhang Lingmu bid farewell coldly. Hichinga's heart sank as he watched Zhang Lingmu leave. The joy of accumulating enough points disappeared without a trace. If the other party did not agree to his request, it was very likely that he would be suppressed. He should take the opportunity to understand more about the Zhang family. It would be best if he could find out who was looking for him. It could not be the entire Zhang family. At most, it was someone from one of the branches of the Zhang family. Otherwise, why would they need to exchange points with a small figure like him? They would have the opportunity to look for the manager of Imperial Beast Peak. Thank you for what you did just now. This is a gift for you. Hichinga took out a piece of black jade stone and hung it around the golden jade white tiger's neck. It was a new black jade stone that he had bought in Qingxian market some time ago. This golden jade white tiger liked it a lot, and it was cheap. Chapter 3. Trading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What do you mean he rejected the deal? Is it too little? Zhang Jianxiang could not believe it. Not to mention his Zhang family, he even felt that Hichinga had gotten a bargain by exchanging points from the Imperial Beast Peak for points from the Alchemy Peak. If it was not for the fact that he needed to exchange for the Mystic Jade Spirit Bamboo unique to the Imperial Beast Peak, he would not even want the points of the Imperial Beast Peak. No, he's thinking of using the points of the Imperial Beast Peak to exchange for a baby spirit beast at the Foundation establishment stage, Zhang Lingmu replied respectfully without adding any embellishments. Zhang Jianxiang was the successor of one of the main branches of the Zhang family. He still had some brains. There was no need to do anything unnecessary. On the contrary, his younger brother, Zhang Jianqi, was ambitious and arrogant. Isn't he afraid of losing his life to the spirit beast cub at the Foundation establishment stage? Zhang Jianxiang laughed. He's determined. Zhang Lingmu stated Hichinga's conditions. 10,000. Old black tortoise, sound gathering butterfly, dragon scale horse, Qilin beast, 7. Colored bird, or any other spirit beasts with higher potential. Zhang Jianqi mocked him, saying that Hichinga was crazy enough to think of any request. But you said that he can order the golden jade white tiger in the spirit beast garden. Zhang Jianxiang narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a little surprised. I can't be sure if he can order it around. It's considered self-protection, Zhang Lingmu said honestly. That's a spirit beast at the peak of the Qi refinement realm. What right does he have to be able to do that? I heard that he has a very high affinity with spirit beasts. This is also the reason why he's able to be the manager of the spirit beast garden despite his low strength. Alright, you go down first. I'll think about it. Zhang Jianxiang waved his hand. Zhang Lingmu bowed and left. Big brother, it's not that there aren't others who have an affinity with spirit beasts, but Hichinga's affinity is too exaggerated. Furthermore, he only wants these spirit beasts. Zhang Jianqi said as he got closer. Which immortal cultivator doesn't have their own secrets? Zhang Jianxiang did not care. But he was able to persevere and accumulate points for 20 years. That means that he had already made this plan 20 years ago. At that time, he was only 6 years old, Zhang Jianqi reminded him in a low voice. Zhang Jianxiang said, I've checked his information. Ever since he entered the Imperial Beast Peak, he said that he liked spirit beasts. His spiritual roots and talent were limited. He had no chance to break through to the Foundation establishment realm. He had to exchange for a spirit beast with potential. Everyone in the same batch as him knew that it was not a big secret. With his potential and resources, the highest spirit beast he could exchange for was only a Foundation establishment spirit beast cub. Then, do you intend to agree with his conditions? These spirit beast cubs are not easy to find, especially the dragon scale horse and Qilin beast. It's simply wishful thinking. Zhang Jianqi frowned. Besides, he's only at the 4th level of the Qi refinement realm. Why should we spend so much effort? I have 1,000 ways to make him hand over his points. Zhang Jianqiang looked at his younger brother. Don't rely on violence and our family background for everything. Otherwise, you'll suffer sooner or later. Big brother, I know who I can and cannot offend. Zhang Jianqi did not care. In his opinion, his brother was still not decisive enough. What qualifications did a 4th level Qi refinement disciple have to negotiate with them? Alright, that's all for now. I'll prepare the baby spirit beast to exchange with him, Zhang Jianqiang said sternly. What kind of baby spirit beast are you going to give him? Of course, the cheapest one. We can't possibly find a Qilin beast for him. You mean the sound-gathering butterfly? Yes. But we don't have a sound-gathering butterfly. Xianyin Peak has it. I can find someone to exchange for it. Brother, not only is this a waste of favors, but the cost is also huge. It's not worth it. Why don't you let me do it? I'll definitely make him hand over the points. He has a good affinity with spirit beasts. Who knows if anyone on the Imperial Beast Peak is paying attention to him. Don't do anything unnecessary. Moreover, the sound-gathering butterfly isn't anything rare. It's not a waste of a favor. Zhang Jianqiang frowned and scolded his younger brother. Alright then. Zhang Jianqi left with a face full of unwillingness. He felt that his brother was too generous and too afraid of the consequences. He believed that Qingga must have some shocking secret. Otherwise, who could persist in not using their points for decades just to exchange for resources to increase their strength? The opportunity to become immortal was hard to come by. How could he let it go? Besides, Qingga's strength, talent, and background were not worth mentioning. He could crush him with a single hand. What was there to worry about? His brother was just indecisive. How could he live forever like this? Sigh. Zhang Jianqiang looked at his younger brother and knew that he did not take his words to heart. However, nothing should happen in the short term. Besides, Qingga did not have any powerful background, so he did not care. Zhang Lingmu, send someone to keep an eye on Qingga. I want to know his daily schedule and work. After Zhang Jianqiang came out, he saw Zhang Lingmu standing guard not far away. Yes, sir. Zhang Lingmu lowered his old face, and his hidden smile appeared sinister. He knew that second young master would definitely not let Qingga off. The next morning, the doorbell of the spirit beast garden rang. When Qingga opened the door, he saw a young master with a jade-like face. He was wearing a silk robe, and he could clearly feel the pressure coming off his body. It was Zhang Jianqiang. Qingga had inquired about the Zhang family yesterday, so he naturally recognized the person in front of him. It seemed that the person who wanted to trade with him was this man. Senior, please come in. Qingga chuckled. In the cultivation world, those who reached the top came first. Zhang Jianqiang looked younger than him, but his strength was far above Qingga's. Naturally, Qingga had to address him as senior. Otherwise, the other party could nitpick if he wanted to. I think you already understand why I'm here, so I won't say any more nonsense. This is the spirit beast egg of the sound-gathering butterfly. Zhang Jianqiang's expression was calm. A spirit beast egg that was flashing with spiritual light appeared in his hand. Qingga took a look. The egg of a sound-gathering butterfly, level. None, likes. None, potential. Level 2 low. Grade, there's a very small chance of entering the Foundation Establishment realm. After the Foundation Establishment realm, advancing further will be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Description: It'll take 1 month to hatch. It's able to use sound, listening grass and spirit, gathering grass, and 1.1. Brew the spirit juice over a small fire to nourish the spirit egg. There's a chance to increase potential and speed up birth. Abilities: hearing. It has extremely strong hearing. It can hear all sounds within a 1,000 meter radius and distinguish them clearly. Spirit gathering. It can gather the surrounding spiritual energy. It has a good affinity with spiritual energy. Evolution. None, Hichinga nodded in satisfaction. He valued the ability, spirit gathering, the most. After sharing the ability, he could increase his cultivation speed. Alright, let's go to the merit room to trade. There were no accidents during the transaction. With 8,000 points from the Imperial Beast Peak, he successfully obtained the Spirit Beast Egg. Hichinga finally felt at ease after such a smooth transaction. The door to his future path of immortality was opening. As long as he fused with the sound, gathering butterfly, his talent would definitely increase, and his cultivation speed would greatly increase too. Chapter 4. Contracted Spirit Pet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After returning to the Imperial Beast Peak, Hichinga sighed with emotion. This transaction was very smooth. The suppression from the Zhang family that he was worried about did not happen. He planned to use the remaining points to exchange for sound, listening grass and spirit, gathering grass. These 2 spiritual herbs were stored on the Imperial Beast Peak, and the points exchanged for them varied according to the herb's age. Hey, why are you willing to use your points all of a sudden? The manager of the merit room of the Imperial Beast Peak, Li Lu, teased. Hichinga had always been kind to others since he started cultivating. The people around him were very amiable, especially the people of the Imperial Beast Peak. Basically, everyone knew him. He could be considered a small celebrity on the Imperial Beast Peak. Moreover, Li Lu and Hichinga were in the same batch of people who entered the Imperial Beast Peak, so their relationship was closer. They took care of each other and complemented each other's resources. The beast milk in Hichinga's Spirit Beast Garden was not cheap if it was bought according to points or spirit beasts. However, Hichinga used his talent, the heart of beast taming, to increase the amount of milk produced by the spirit beasts and meet the needs of the Imperial Beast Peak. The rest could be distributed by him. Over the years, the beast milk had formed a good profit chain. He could even get information and resources. Otherwise, where would he have gotten the information about the Zhang family? How could he have accumulated 10,000 points of the Imperial Beast Peak in 20 years? Even if he had been the steward of the Spirit Beast Garden for 20 years, he would not have been able to gather so many points. He did it all through business. I got what I wanted. I have a spirit pet now. I'm going to hold a banquet to celebrate in a few days. Brotherly, you must come. Hichinga said with a smile. There was no need to hide this matter at all. One's safety at the Imperial Beast Peak was guaranteed. Moreover, such news could not be hidden. All right. Let me know when the time is set. Li Lu smiled and agreed. Brotherly, I want to exchange for 1,000-year-old sound, listening grass and 1,000-year-old spirit, gathering grass. Hichinga looked at the exchange list on the screen. Are you sure? Li Lu was a little surprised. These 2 spiritual herbs were not very valuable. It was just that some spirit beasts liked to eat them. Even so, 1,000-year-old spiritual herb was not cheap. I'm sure. It's worth it for my darling, Hichinga said with heartache. He still had 2,000 points of the Imperial Beast Peak left, but it was not enough to exchange for these 2 spiritual herbs. No matter how worthless they were still 1,000-year-old spiritual herbs. However, Li Lu was the manager here. His talent was very good, and he was already at the late stage of the Qi refinement realm. If he was at the late stage of the Qi refinement realm for 20 years, his talent would be very strong. Otherwise, he would not be able to sit firmly as the manager of the merit room. With his current strength and talent, he could actually apply to become an outer disciple. However, he was still a miscellaneous disciple here. From this, one could see how good the merit room was. He was planning to become an official disciple by staying here. Chinga's spirit beast milk played a big role in this. This was a binding of interests. Returning to the spirit beast garden, Chinga opened the minor 5 elements defense array and prepared to enter seclusion to contract the spirit beast egg. After entering the room, he picked up the medicinal cauldron from the corner and gently wiped it. A few years ago, he had thought of learning a side job if his talent was not good enough, but in the end, he had to give up because his talent was average and the costs were too expensive. However, with the heart of beast taming, he used the medicinal cauldron to refine many spiritual liquids that the spirit beasts in the garden loved to drink. Among them, there was a spiritual liquid that increased the quality and quantity of the spirit beast's milk. The most commonly used spiritual liquid was the one that increased the amount of beast milk. After all, increasing the quality might attract attention. He carefully took out a jade box. Inside it were the 1000-year-old spiritual herbs he had exchanged for and a few 10-year-old spiritual herbs. He was prepared to try out the 10-year-old spiritual herbs first to prevent any accidents. He put down the cauldron and formed a seal with his fingers. He was already familiar with the art of igniting fire. He heated up the cauldron and placed 2 10-year-old spiritual herbs into it. He slowly boiled them over a small fire. Soon, the 2 spiritual herbs began to make a small sound before dissolving into the spiritual liquid. Chinga controlled the fire evenly until the spiritual liquid was completely refined. A fresh smell assaulted his nose. It was obvious that he had succeeded. He used his spiritual power to remove the impurities and stored the liquid in a jade bottle. Then, he took out the cleansing talisman to remove the remnants of the cauldron to prevent the 1000-year-old spiritual herbs from being contaminated. The same method was used to refine the 1000-year-old spiritual herbs. Unfortunately, Chinga still underestimated the 1000-year-old spiritual herbs. The effort and consumption far exceeded his expectations. Fortunately, he had prepared a Qi replenishment pill in advance, or else he would have failed. After 12 hours, the 1000-year-old spiritual liquid was finally refined. Not only was the amount of spiritual liquid not as much as the 10-year-old spiritual liquid, but it was even less. However, it seemed that the spiritual liquid was more potent, locking the essence of the herbs inside. He carefully placed the egg of the sound, gathering butterfly into the spiritual liquid. He pierced his finger with his spiritual power and forced out a wisp of origin blood essence, dripping it onto the spirit beast egg. His face instantly paled, and his expression withered. He quickly picked up the jade gourd beside him and poured the 100 beast milk into his mouth to nourish his body. Chinga had concocted the 100 beast milk herself. It had the effects of replenishing qi and blood, nourishing yin and yang, and replenishing essence and marrow. It greatly alleviated the injuries on his body. He could clearly sense the connection between him and the spirit beast egg. He could feel the egg's breathing. It was asleep. In just 3 days, the sound, gathering butterfly hatched, and Chinga successfully contracted his first spirit pet. Name: Chinga. Age: 26, spiritual root purity. 35, level. Level 4 Qi refinement realm, cultivation technique. Heavenly mysterious spell, mysterious jade body, skills. Igniting fire, proficient, berating, skilled, body lifting, proficient, enchanted talisman, beginner, proficiency levels. Beginner, skilled, proficient, master, grandmaster, superb, near. Talent. The Heart of Beast Taming. Abilities: 1. Contract. One can contract a pet for every major realm increase. At the time of the contract, the pet's cultivation level can't be higher than the pet's cultivation level by one major realm. 2. Sharing. All the abilities and talents of the contracted pet can be shared. 3. Pet affinity. All spirit beasts will have a good impression of you the first time they see you. 4. Insight. You're able to gain a simple insight into the information of spirit beasts. Contract opportunity. 0. Pet sound, gathering butterfly, level. Level 1 of Chi refinement, potential. Level 2 high. Grade, nourished by 2000-year-old spiritual liquid, its talent surpasses that of ordinary sound, gathering butterflies. All its abilities have been significantly improved. The probability of breaking through to the Foundation Establishment realm is very high. There's even a chance of stepping into the Golden Core realm. Likes. Sound, listening grass and spirit, gathering grass are its favorite food. Abilities: hearing. It has extremely strong hearing. It can hear all sounds within a 3,000 meter radius and distinguish them clearly. Spirit gathering. It can gather the surrounding spiritual energy. It has a good affinity for spiritual energy. It's stronger than ordinary sound, gathering butterflies. Description. Cultivate it well, and it'll become your ears on the path of cultivation. Evolution. None. Hichinga felt the change and was shocked speechless. His spiritual root purity was originally 20, but now it had become 35. Although it was only a difference of 15 points, it could make Hichinga's cultivation efficiency much higher. If he had such talent from the beginning, coupled with a large amount of spirit beast milk, he might have broken through to the 6th level of Chi refinement. His cultivation became slower and slower as he progressed. It took him half a year to enter the beginner level of Chi refinement, a year and a half to break through to the 2nd level, 3 years to break through to the 3rd level, and 9 years to break through to the 4th level. He had been stuck at the bottleneck for many years. The sound, gathering butterflies talent had also increased, and its ability was also more powerful. Hichinga was very excited that it was at the 1st level of the Chi refinement realm. Its perception was much stronger than his own. The most important thing was that Hichinga could also share the ability of the sound. Gathering butterfly, especially spirit gathering. It could further improve his spiritual root purity, which was equivalent to a small portable spirit gathering array. Hichinga was ready to try sharing talents. He wanted to try hearing first. Ah! Suddenly, Hichinga clutched his head and wailed in pain. Too many voices entered his ears in an instant. His brain seemed to be overstimulated and could not process too much information. The sound of the wind, the sound of insects, the sound of breathing, the sounds of conversation. Fortunately, Hichinga slowly adapted to this situation. Her brain seemed to be more flexible, and he could clearly distinguish every sound. This ability was simply heaven-defying. It was a divine weapon for eavesdropping. Soon, he sensed a creature squatting on a tall tree outside his own garden. He could feel its breathing. Hichinga immediately became alert. Chapter 5. Sect Mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hichinga focused all of his hearing on the creature on the tall tree outside the spirit beast garden. He could clearly hear the strong breathing, strong heartbeat, and the reverberation of sound waves. The appearance of the creature appeared in Hichinga's mind. This discovery made him overjoyed. This ability was similar to that of a bat's, but it was even more powerful. He could sense the sound waves of living things and directly visualize them. Hichinga directly modeled the creature in his mind and marked out all kinds of sensory data. There was a bird crouching on a tall tree outside. From its appearance, it looked like a tizot bird. From the rhythm of its breathing and heartbeat, he could roughly sense that its strength was at the 6th level of the Chi training realm. Hichinga's heart was solemn. He was being targeted. Tianxian sect was a huge sect with strict rules. It was impossible for a spirit beast to fly around without a master. This Tizat bird must be a man-made spirit beast. The first thing Chinga thought of was the Zhang family. After all, he had never encountered anything like this bird before their arrival. Of course, it was also possible that he did not have such strong hearing before and could not detect it. Overall, the Zhang family was the most suspicious. After a while, Chinga could not take it anymore. His head hurt a little, and his spiritual power was exhausted. He pulled back hearing. Now, he could use hearing at full power for about 15 minutes. Chinga was not too worried that there were people watching him from the outside. As long as he did not go out, there would not be any problems. Besides the Peak Master, no one could kill people in the Tianxian sect. But if one provoked old Peng Ci, one would not be able to escape no matter what. With the pressure, Chinga prepared to enter seclusion to break through to the 5th level of Qi refinement. After activating spirit gathering, Chinga felt that there was a small amount of spirit gathering ability. He also drank a lot of high-quality 100 beast milk, which contained sufficient nutrition and a little spiritual power. Just like that, 4 months passed. Chinga had broken through to the 5th level of Qi refinement. My spiritual root purity has increased, and my efficiency in cultivation has increased significantly. Every day, Chinga realized that the speed of his cultivation of berating had increased significantly. Perhaps it was because of his sensitivity to sound, which allowed him to control spells like sound with ease. His proficiency in berating had increased greatly. In just 4 months, his berating had advanced from proficient to grandmaster. It was obvious that there was a qualitative leap. Proficiency levels: beginner, skilled, proficient, master, grandmaster, superb, near-Dao. Berating could shock the opponent's mind, and the sound waves could damage their hearing and affect their brain. It was only one of the most basic spells, but when it reached the grandmaster level, even the golden jade white tiger at the peak of the Qi refinement realm would be affected and even shocked. It was quite powerful. Chinga could now use all his words to berate people, and the effect was extraordinary. If he used it well, he could even kill people of a higher level. After all, the body of a cultivator in the Qi refinement realm was not that strong. What was powerful was all kinds of methods. Chinga was in a good mood after his strength had increased. As long as he could pass the Imperial Beast Peak selection 4 months later, his future path would be much easier. What do you mean he hasn't left the house for 4 months? Zhang Jianqi said sternly. It's true, young master, Zhang Lingmu said respectfully. Doesn't he need to do missions? He's the steward of the Spirit Beast Garden. He needs to provide beast milk every day. Zhang Jianqi was puzzled. Zhang Lingmu said, he applied for a closed-door cultivation breakthrough for a month. He also brought out the beast milk in advance to offset the amount for the next 2 months. In the last month, someone went to his spirit beast garden to get milk every day, and he never showed up. Idiot, why didn't you tell me earlier? Zhang Jianqi was furious. He had a bad temper to begin with, and now his mood was even worse. This subordinate had done the task he ordered so badly. I thought he wouldn't be in seclusion for such a long time as a level 4 Qi refinement cultivator, Zhang Lingmu said. I'm afraid that too violent a method will make him suspicious. Why are you being reasonable? Zhang Jianqi's eyes turned cold. Zhang Lingmu quickly knelt down and groveled. I don't dare. I'm too stupid. Did you send someone over? Zhang Jianqi asked. Other than the milkmen of the Imperial Beast Peak, he won't meet anyone else. With the defensive array of the Spirit Beast Garden, it's impossible to barge in. Zhang Lingmu's entire body trembled. Trash! Zhang Jianqi roared. For 4 whole months, no information was learned. There was nothing useful at all. Since he doesn't want to go out, get him out. I don't think I need to teach you how to do this. Zhang Jianqi looked at Zhang Lingmu coldly. Zhang Lingmu's eyes flashed with joy. Disciples of the Tianxian sect usually only needed to participate in the missions of their own peak, but the servant disciples and outer sect disciples had to participate in the sect missions every 3 years. In the past, He-Chinga had always bribed people to have him be selected for a safe mission within the sect. Moreover, he had chosen those missions that were safe but not of much value, so he did not need to bribe too much. He wanted to avoid being envied by others. After all, his strength was not high, so it was always right to be careful. He entered the sect at the age of 6 and had completed 6 sect missions. Now that he was almost 27 years old, he did not have much time left. It was time for the next sect mission. He made preparations as usual. Senior, do you have a mission that doesn't require me to leave the sect? He-Chinga asked as he handed over a spirit stone. The originally somewhat impatient disciple of the merit room put the spirit stone into his pocket and instantly smiled. Yes, yes. Look at these. He directly handed the selected missions to He-Chinga. There was a price marked behind each mission. He-Chinga was used to seeing this. The task of selecting and guiding new disciples lasted for 3 months. Guiding them to familiarize themselves with the sect and their cultivation was not difficult or rewarding. The sect would not directly give the new disciples cultivation resources, so there was not much profit. It was to prevent them from taking advantage of the sect. At the same time, it was also to test the temperament and talent of the new disciples. He-Chinga had been relying on his talent to stay in Tianxian sect. After living a life full of hard work in his previous life, he would naturally seize every opportunity that he saw. Identity token. He-Chinga handed the token over. The disciple of the merit room verified it, and his expression changed. Your name is He-Chinga. Yes. Change to another mission. This mission has been temporarily reserved by someone else, the disciple of the merit room said coldly. He-Chinga frowned and knew that it was not simple. The mission book that he had seen before was a magic treasure. Of course, it was a sub-body of the magic treasure. The Hall of Punishment and the Pill Cauldron room also had mission books. According to legend, the main body was in the hands of the sect master. The missions displayed on it were missions that nobody had chosen. Then I'll choose to guard the Purgatory Devil's Nest. He-Chinga remained calm. Most people would not choose this mission. That's unavailable. He-Chinga took out another spirit stone. A strange look flashed across the eyes of the disciple from the merit room. After putting it away, his voice became even colder. There are only missions outside of the sect. He-Chinga was conflicted and took out another spirit stone. The disciple of the merit room said indifferently, there'll only be internal sect missions next year. Thank you for telling me, senior. I'll go back and consider it. He-Chinga looked at the options. I wonder if I can avoid this calamity. The disciple of the merit room shook his head slightly. Just now, he was reminding the other party on account of his understanding. He-Chinga knew that he had been targeted, and the Zhang family was the first suspect. There was clearly no problem with their previous transaction, so why were they targeting him? He could not wait for a year to accept the mission. His 3-year period was almost up. If he did not accept a mission within 3 years, he would automatically be forced to accept one. It seemed that he needed to prepare some backup plans. Chapter 6. Banquet guests, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Qing Xian Peak was one of the 108 main peaks of the Tianxian sect. Zhang Xuanyu, the ancestor of the Zhang family, was one of the true disciples of the current peak master. He was quite powerful. It was said that he had already reached the Golden Core realm 150 years ago. He had dozens of children and countless grandchildren. It was naturally impossible for a Golden Core cultivator to manage the cultivation resources of all his descendants. Other than one or two extremely talented juniors, the other descendants were basically left to fend for themselves. Naturally, it was the same for Zhang Jianxiang and Zhang Jianqi. Even so, they were still much better than ordinary disciples. At the very least, they could pull off tiger skin to make a coat. He Qingge had already found out about the Zhang family, including Zhang Jianxiang and Zhang Jianqi. Having experienced the troubles of his previous life, he naturally understood the importance of information. For more than 20 years, apart from managing his connections, he had also been setting up an information network. Zhang Jianxiang was about 70 or 80 years old. He had a technique to keep his face young, so he did not look old. He was quite shrewd. 2 years ago, he was still an outer sect disciple at the 12th level of Qi refinement. It could be seen that he had not yet entered the foundation establishment realm. After all, the treatment of inner sect disciples and outer sect disciples could be said to be worlds apart. There was no need to hide the news of breaking through to the foundation establishment realm. Zhang Jianqi was Zhang Jianxiang's younger brother. His exact age was unknown, but it seemed that many people had been blackmailed by him before. However, every time they were blackmailed, their backgrounds would be investigated in advance. He was vicious and narrow-minded. He had never announced his strength to the public, and he had successfully cultivated the skill, breath-holding. However, he should not be in the foundation establishment realm or an inner sect disciple at the moment. Assuming that his cultivation level was also in the late stage of Qi refinement. From the sect mission issue, it could be seen that someone wanted to force He Qingge to go out. The expression and tone of the disciple of the merit room also proved this point. At present, the biggest suspect was Zhang Jianqi. After analyzing all the information, He Qingge had a headache. The opponent's strength was far above his. Now, he was only a small shrimp at the 5th level of Qi refinement. Even if his berating was high, it would be difficult to kill an opponent at the 12th level of Qi refinement. However, he had to complete a sect mission. If he did not, he would be forced to complete a difficult mission, which would be even more dangerous. If that was really the case, He Qingge would suspect that he would have to face Zhang Jianqi during his mission. Now, there was still room for choice. He Qingge's first thought was to dodge. He knew that he would definitely not be able to defeat Zhang Jianqi. The difference in strength was too great. However, he had already been hiding for 4 months, and the other party still did not want to let him go. If he could continue to hide in the sect, He Qingge would be happy to. Now, it was obvious that he could not. The sect mission was a huge obstacle, and the other party was forcing him out. His own network could not affect the merit room. The only person he knew who had power was Su Zimei, but was it really okay to plead with her? Su Zimei's talent and beauty were definitely top-notch. There were countless bootlickers in the sect. If these bootlickers saw or found out that Su Zimei was standing up for him, just thinking about it could make his scalp go numb. He Qingge had never taken the initiative to look for Su Zimei. She was always the one who came to look for He Qingge. Su Zimei was powerful, and no one could monitor her, including the Peak Master. It had always been peaceful for her. However, it was different for him. If someone saw him, he would really be done for. Damn it, damn it. Why is it so troublesome to cultivate peacefully? He Qingge felt helpless. He clenched his fists and sighed at how weak he was. There was no time to delay. He wanted to participate in the Imperial Beast Peaks disciple selection in 4 months. He had to complete the sect mission before that to make it back in time. Even if he wanted to delay it, he could at most delay it for 3 months. However, time would be tight. If that really happened, not to mention the difficulty of the mission, it would be impossible to return to the sect in a month. He could only rely on himself at the moment. The obvious advantage was that hearing had given him a powerful perception ability that far exceeded ordinary people's. Even those at the peak of the Qi refinement realm who did not specialize in cultivating perception spells could not compare to him. Other than that, there was also his Grandmaster level berating skill that was effective against the Golden Jade White Tiger at the peak of the Qi refinement realm. It might have an unexpected effect. Qingge checked the things he had stored up over the years. Items. Small storage bag, Cleansing Talisman X3, Vajra Talisman X10, Flying Sword Talisman X20, Body Lifting Talisman X60, Old Taoist Robe X2, Qi Fostering Pill X2, Sky Shaking Thunder X30, Low-grade Spirit Stone X98. This was his 20-year collection. For someone of his strength, it was quite rich. Most of his assets were the benefits brought by the beast milk. Qingge was prepared to wait for another month to make preparations. He wanted to have more backup plans. He wanted to cultivate for a month and leave the Zhang family in the dust first. After all, it was not easy to avoid making mistakes under high-level surveillance for a long time. Now, he had been under surveillance for 4 months. At the same time, he wanted to see if he could wait for Su Zimei. After she told him about the legacy disciple selection last time, she said that she was going into seclusion. It had been 4 months since then. Qingge was prepared to focus on cultivating berating this month. If it was already so powerful at the Grandmaster level, it would definitely be even more terrifying if he could break through to the superb level. Secondly, he would cultivate the light body technique, which was used for escaping. If the difference in strength was too great, he would definitely lose more than he would win. As for his realm, although his talent had increased, it was impossible for him to break through again in a short period of time. Before he started cultivating, Qingge had written several invitations. He had said that he would invite his friends to celebrate his obtaining a spirit pet. He could also take this opportunity to collect some money to strengthen himself. After the invitations were sent out, Qingge went to the market to buy supplies for the celebration. He bought demon beast meat. Long-haired rabbits had soft and bouncy meat and a delicate texture. There was almost no fat. Rabbit head salad was especially delicious. The streaky pork from Black Mountain pigs tasted the best. It had a rich texture and distinct layers. Blood beef was filled with blood and qi. Eating it for a long time could strengthen blood and qi, improving one's physique. Qingge's cooking skills were excellent, and even Su Zimei liked it. She could be fasting, but she still could not help but want to eat Qingge's food. In the evening, the ingredients were all prepared. The invited guests arrived one after another. There were not many people, and they sat down at a table. Li Lu, the steward of Imperial Beast Peak's merit room, in the late stage of qi refinement. Exact cultivation level unknown. Shen Su, the manager of Imperial Beast Peak's Spirit Beast Garden, in the late stage qi refinement, age unknown. Qingge's direct superior. Gu Meng, the manager of Imperial Beast Peak's Miscellaneous Affairs Room, in the late stage of qi refinement. Fang Yuan, Imperial Beast Peak's Outer Sect disciple, in the late stage qi refinement. A first-grade talisman master who can refine basic talismans. Qingge actually knew that these people who were usually friendly to him might not think highly of him. After all, his strength and talent were very low. The reason why he could maintain such a relationship was all because of the benefits of the beast milk. If they wanted to quickly increase their strength, they needed more resources. Beast milk's spiritual power was gentle, and at the same time, it had high nutritional value and was very beneficial to the body. Therefore, they could not be hostile to him. Qingge had gained a lot from the banquet, whether it was talking about cultivation experience, interesting things in the sect, or all kinds of gossip. After the banquet ended, Qingge asked Fang Yuan to stay behind, saying that he wanted to learn how to make talismans. The others tactfully left. Qingge had learned how to make talismans a long time ago and spent a lot of effort to get started. He could only draw the lowest level of cleaning talismans, the mirror talismans. Chapter 7. Making preparations. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fong Yuan, I want to buy some high-grade talismans. He Chinga directly told Fong Yuan his purpose. The so-called high-grade talismans actually had a prefix in front of them. Level 1 talismans, Level 1 spells, Level 1 demon beasts, Level 1 pills, and so on were basically materials that corresponded to the Qi refinement realm. Low-grade, medium-grade, high-grade, and top-grade could correspond to the early stage of Qi refinement, the middle stage of Qi refinement, the late stage of Qi refinement, and the perfected Qi refinement realm, the 12th level of Qi refinement. How many do you want? Fong Yuan did not ask He Chinga why he was buying talismans. Immortal cultivators hated such things the most. I need 20 body-lifting talismans, 20 swift talismans, 20 Vajra talismans or protection talismans, 5 body-locking talismans, and 10 flying sword talismans, He Chinga said a lot in one breath. You're asking for a little too much. Fong Yuan hesitated for a moment. He did not have so many high-grade talismans at the moment, let alone top-grade talismans. How many can you have ready? When do you want them? In about 10 days. He Chinga was not being truthful. That's a pity. If it were a little longer, I might be able to prepare all of them. I don't have so many high-grade talismans now. Middle-grade talismans are fine too, but I want more of them. He Chinga pondered for a moment. Alright, I'll go prepare as many as possible. Fong Yuan left with a smile. He did not expect that there would be big business coming in today, so he was in a good mood. Although He Chinga said so many things, he actually could not afford to pay for them now. It was just that his long-term good luck and stable income from beast milk could be used to cash in now. Even so, He Chinga had spent a lot of spirit stones and high-quality beast milk. If it was not for He Chinga's strong character, his fear of death, his deep understanding of the Tao, his never leaving the sect, his kindness to others, and his lack of enemies, Fong Yuan might not have let him buy on credit. After all, in the cultivation world, the strong preyed on the weak. Many low-level cultivators fought to the death for a trace of opportunity. A single mistake could lead to eternal damnation, and the spirit stones lent out would most likely not be returned. Many would die an unnatural death. Therefore, it was not common for cultivators to borrow things. Of course, it was possible that the world that He Chinga could observe was too small. The main scope of his knowledge was the Tianxian sect. Other than cultivating spells and skills, He Chinga spent the rest of his time in the market buying items that he might need, especially high-level talismans. After 4 months of closed-door cultivation, his berating ability went a long way to reach the Grandmaster level. Now, after a month, he had finally reached the superb level. Spell. Berating, effect. Intimidation of the opponent for a short period of time. The Grandmaster level berating could intimidate a golden jade white tiger at the peak of Qi refinement. Breaking through to the superb level made the ability even more powerful. It could forcefully intimidate the opponent. In a battle between experts, life and death could be decided in an instant. Other than that, there was almost no progress in other spells. Other than the talents related to sound, the rest were still so bad. Another regret was that Su Zimei still did not appear this month. He Chinga packed up his things and prepared to complete the sect's mission. He could not delay any longer. Before that, he would go to the market to see if there were anything that he still lacked. There was no unified law in this world. Burning, killing, and looting were common. He Chinga had a serious fear of insufficient firepower. If not for the fact that he was forced to leave the sect. Zhang Jianxiang, Zhang Jianqi, Zhang Lingmu, I'll remember you, He Chinga thought fiercely. Hello, how much is this? Soon, He Chinga stopped at a small stall. There was a bottle of sky-blue potion on the stall. It was in a pure glass bottle with the label, blue fish poison. Chinga had heard of this poison before. It was one of the few poisons recorded in the library that could not be cured by detoxification pills. Other than that, there were also 9-year-old begonia flower, solitary snow, bird's blood, and other highly toxic poisons. There were also all kinds of fragrances. A chi refinement cultivator did not specialize in training their physical body, so their body would not be too strong, and their resistance to poison would not be strong either. 20 spirit stones. That's too expensive. Chinga did not even raise his head. Anyway, the moment he arrived, he bargained. Immortal cultivators were just that tacky. They would be as calculative as mortals when buying things. In his 20 years of cultivation, the only person he had seen who had more immortal energy was probably the old man who had brought him to fly on a sword back then. That was the first time he came into contact with immortal cultivation and also the first time he knew that there were immortals in this world. In fact, he was a late-stage chi refinement cultivator with good looks and good skills. However, it was a pity that the only person who had some immortal energy died in a battle for the treasures in the ruins a few years ago. Of course, this was just a rumor. No one knew how he died. It was just news brought back by his fellow disciples. This is expensive. Do you know how difficult it is to get these poisons? These are all life-saving things. Lu Diren grinned at Chinga. Do you have anything more poisonous? Chinga did not refute and continued to ask. The poisons in front of him were indeed difficult to get, but chi refinement cultivators still had a way to force them out of their bodies. The biggest advantage was that the current detoxification pills would not have much of an effect on these poisons. However, the poisons here were not particularly strong. It would be difficult to poison someone to death with them immediately. What kind of poison do you want? Lu Diren asked. Something that's more poisonous, acts faster, and is harder to cure. Chinga stated his request. It's best if it's at the late stage of chi refinement, or even at the peak of chi refinement. Then you've found the right person. I have something that meets all your requests. Come and take a look at this bottle. Lu Diren took out a small bottle from the stall. The bottle was quite small, and inside it was a dark purple liquid that looked quite thick. Even with the sun behind Chinga, he could not see it clearly. This purple smoke poison meets all your criteria. This is made with purple smoke as the main ingredient, and some supplementary poison has been added to further stimulate the poison within. Not to mention humans in the late stage of the chi refinement realm or even the perfected chi refinement realm, even demon beasts that specialize in cultivating their bodies won't be able to resist it. Even Foundation Establishment realm cultivators can't last long if they aren't careful and don't detoxify the poison in time. How many spirit stones does this cost? Chinga's eyes lit up instantly. Not much, not much. 50 spirit stones. Lu Diren smiled. Why is it so cheap? Chinga blurted out subconsciously. The main reason was that this potion was much stronger than the previous potions, but the price was only about twice as high. This means that I'm honest. I'm not scamming you. Chinga was slightly conflicted, but in the end, he gritted his teeth and took it. Chapter 8. Departure from the sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chinga had returned from the market with a bountiful harvest. He had bought many life-saving and sinister items. After returning to the Imperial Beast Peak, Chinga decided to try the effects of the purple smoke poison he had bought. He smeared the poison on the weapons he purchased. The divine weapons used by ordinary people were not considered magic weapons. If used properly, they could cut open the body of a chi refinement realm expert. After all, without reaching the Foundation Establishment realm, the body would not transform. Moreover, if it was not a chi refinement cultivator who specialized in cultivating the body would not be too strong. As long as they did not have spiritual energy protecting them, these mortal divine weapons were enough to deal damage to them. After checking all the things he had prepared, Hichinga heaved a sigh of relief and went to accept the sect's mission. It was already nightfall, and the sky had darkened. Fortunately, the immortal cultivators were quite energetic, and there was almost no difference between day and night. If it was in the modern era, they would be the most qualified cattle and horses. The sect's merit room was guarded at all times. There was no need to worry about whether he could receive missions at this late hour. Get lost. A voice seemed to resound through the entire world when Hichinga activated the defensive array of the Spirit Beast Garden. Berating. He instantly activated it at the bird on the tree not far away. The power of superb level berating was quite powerful. The bird that had been monitoring him from the tree directly fell from the tree. One had to know that even a golden jade white tiger at the peak of the chi refinement realm would be stunned by this level of berating for a long time. The bird on the tree clearly was not that powerful. Generally speaking, private fights were not allowed in the sect. However, this bird had been monitoring him for such a long time, and all of it was recorded by Hichinga using the recording crystal. Even if he were to enter the disciplinary hall, he would still have evidence. This bird started monitoring him first, which was a big taboo in the cultivation world. It was equivalent to a life-and-death duel. One had to know that his spirit beast garden was the nearest one around here. There were no spirit beasts without an owner in the entire Tianxian sect. Seeing the bird fall to the ground and its entire body stiffening, Hichinga immediately took out a steel needle from his storage bag. He gently stabbed it into the bird's body. The steel needle was also a very strong divine weapon. Hichinga had even smeared poison on it, so he could use it to test out the poison. In just a second, the bird, which was in a daze, lost its breath. It seems that I wasn't lied to in regards to the strength of this poison. I can buy it from him again next time. Hichinga was quite satisfied and kept the dead bird in his storage pouch. He went to select the mission that he had chosen 2 or 3 days ago. It was a solo investigation mission. That if he were to find a group mission now, he would not be at ease with anyone. He was now wearing a green Taoist robe, which looked quite ordinary. A few colorful butterflies were embroidered on the Taoist robe, making it look nondescript. A colorful gathering butterfly was perched on his shoulder. It looked like another embroidered butterfly on the Taoist robe. As he did not have the money to buy a beast-subduing bag, he could only do this. There were all kinds of colorful clothes in the cultivation world. Many beautiful gauze silk products were quite popular. Hichinga's outfit did not look too out of place. The gathering butterfly had been born for a few months now. It had been cultivating with Hichinga, and its talent was still very strong. It had already reached the 3rd level of the chi refinement realm. It was much faster than Hichinga back then. This was the difference between talents. Sect mission. Head to Beacon City and investigate the serial murders. Mission description. Many people have died in Beacon City in the past month. The faces of the dead are distorted, and their bodies are cold. It seems that they were extremely frightened, and their hearts were all dug out. According to the sect's speculation, it should be the work of a low-level demon beast. Overall, the mission is not difficult. Hichinga had carefully selected the mission, and it was not too far away from the Tianxian sect. He also had the talent of the heart of beast taming, so he naturally had a good relationship with monsters and pets. He had prepared so many backup plans. As long as he could avoid the Zhang family's methods, he should be relatively safe. After leaving the sect, Hichinga had been using hearing. At first, he was unable to take it after a while. Now, after 5 months of tempering, he could activate hearing for a long time, and the consumption was even minimal. The reason why he consumed so much energy and felt a headache at the beginning was that he had absorbed all the sounds in his mind. It included the sound of wind blowing, the sound of grass moving, the sound of insects chirping, and all kinds of other sounds. Now, he only needed to filter out these sounds to greatly reduce the consumption. A map appeared in Hichinga's mind according to hearing. Everyone around him was a special point on the map. Hichinga could determine if someone was following him based on the trajectory of the dots, which was quite convenient and simple. There was a large city under the sect named Tianxian City. It was the largest city under the jurisdiction of the Tianxian sect. Hichinga came here and rented a horse. This horse had the bloodline of a demon beast. It had no cultivation and was just an ordinary horse, but its speed was amazing. He was only at the 5th level of the Qi refinement realm and was in the middle stage. He could not fly with Qi at all. Borrowing the horse could effectively save Hichinga's physical strength. In fact, one could fly at the late stage of Qi refinement. However, one needed to have a magic weapon, and it was not limited to flying swords. However, the number of cultivators who used flying swords far exceeded the number of people who used other magic tools. This result showed that flying swords had their own unique characteristics. He sat on the horse that he had rented and stuck a body-lifting talisman on it, then quickly set off for his destination. Hichinga did not linger for too long. He knew that the longer he stayed, the higher the possibility of being discovered by the Zhang family. Since he had killed the bird, they might not be able to find his whereabouts so quickly. Riding on the galloping horse, Hichinga looked at the vast land and felt like a fish jumping in the vast sea. Hearing was still activated. There were countless people coming and going in Tianxian City, and there were many people who were going the same way as Hichinga. Tianxian City had many wide and smooth roads. It was rumored that the patriarch of the Tianxian sect was the one who built them. Riding on the main road, Hichinga could not help but wonder when he would be able to possess such power. However, with the talent of the heart of beast taming, as long as he could survive and contract a stronger pet, his future should be even broader. Hichinga was quite confident in his future, especially after the transformation of the sound-gathering butterfly, which shocked him. It was a spirit pet but had the potential to enter the Foundation establishment realm. Chapter 9. Tracking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hichinga, who had been riding for a long time after the fork, raised his eyebrows slightly. It seemed that it was really not safe to be outside. After the fork in the road, there was a person following him at a moderate pace, maintaining a similar distance from him. If he rode ahead, the other party would also follow. If he stopped, the other party would also stop. Hichinga had thought that it might be someone from the Zhang family, but if it was, they would have come to capture him by now. With the Zhang family's arrogant and domineering appearance, it was obvious that they would not follow him so cautiously. The scariest thing was that Hichinga had a body-lifting talisman on his horse, which could reduce the burden on the horse and make it run faster and easier. The person behind him had followed him for more than 3 hours with his horse. From this, it could be seen that the spiritual power in his body was quite abundant. According to his breathing, heartbeat, pace, speed, and so on, Hichinga could roughly determine that he should be at the 7th level of Qi refinement, the late stage of Qi refinement. The first 3 levels of Qi refinement were the early stages of Qi refinement, the middle 3 levels were the middle stages, and the last 3 levels were the late stages. One could break through to the Foundation establishment realm at the 9th level of Qi refinement. As for the 10th, 11th, and 12th levels, breaking through one more level would increase their foundation for breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm. It would also increase the success rate of breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm. Hichinga immediately added a Divine Strider talisman to the horse. The Divine Strider talisman and the body-lifting talisman were definitely necessary for escaping. His speed instantly increased. If he could shake off the follower behind him, even if it consumed a little more of his stamina, it was still worth it. Hichinga's speed suddenly increased. The burly man behind him was also a little surprised. What was going on? Why did he suddenly increase his speed so much? However, he did not think too much about it and quickly increased his speed to catch up. He had fallen so far behind Hichinga that it was impossible for him to discover him. He had taken a fancy to Hichinga when he was in Tianxian City. Hichinga was weak, only at the 5th level of the Qi refinement realm, and he did not seem to practice the skill breath-holding. However, he was willing to spend money to rent a horse with the bloodline of a demon beast. The Taoist robe on his body did not look like it had been worn for many years either. Taoist robes were not luxurious items, but the frugal ones would definitely not waste extra spirit stones on Taoist robes. Most importantly, he only had a small bag on him. This already explained many things. He had a storage bag on him, which was not something an ordinary disciple could have. Looking at Hichinga's appearance, he knew that he was probably someone who had come out to do a sect mission. He was not wearing the clothes of an outer sect disciple, which meant that he should be a miscellaneous disciple. This must be the first time this man had received such a mission to leave the sect. Having been in this business for a long time, Gauda had long trained his eyes to judge people. He knew who he could offend and who he could not. He knew who was rich, and who was poor. While Hichinga was riding his horse, a man in black suddenly appeared behind the boulder in front of him, not giving him a chance to react. The sword light in his hand waved, and a fierce sword chi appeared like a cold light, instantly slashing toward Hichinga. Hichinga's pupils constricted. Before this person was like a stone. His entire body did not have a trace of breathing or heartbeat. It was as if he had become one with the huge stone, so Hichinga did not notice anything unusual. He might have been able to detect abnormalities if he had used hearing with all his might, but now that many abilities were blocked, he could only pass by. Hichinga's reaction was also very fast. The moment the man in black revealed his head and pulled out his sword, he abandoned his horse and activated the Vajra talisman on his body. He had put a defensive talisman on his body when he left the Tianxian sect just in case. Hence, it could be activated in time. At the same time, he pulled out the divine weapons from the sword case on his back. These were definitely the top divine weapons in the secular martial arts world, but they were still not enough to reach the threshold of a magic weapon. However, it was better than dealing with these people empty-handed, not to mention that he had applied poison to these weapons. "Who are you to attack me?" Hichinga frowned and was cautious. He used hearing to the maximum, wanting to see if there was anyone else hiding around. After realizing that there was no one else, he heaved a sigh of relief and focused his attention on the man in black. The man in black was also surprised. He did not expect that his sneak attack could be dodged by a kid at the 5th level of the Qi cultivation realm. Although he was a little surprised, he did not say anything. Instead, he attacked even more fiercely as his entire body rapidly approached Hichinga. He waved the sword in his hand as he got closer and closer to Hichinga. The sword in his hand was about to slash out. Hichinga seemed to have been scared out of his wits and did not move at all. The black-clothed man's lips curled into a smile. He had seen and killed many such people. It seemed that he would be able to earn another sum of money today. Impudent. When he was just 2 steps away from Hichinga, a thunderous voice rang out. Berating. As Hichinga activated berating, he threw the hidden steel needle in his hand at the other party's neck. The black-clothed man who was moving at a high speed suddenly stiffened. His eyes were a little empty, and his body continued to move forward under the effect of inertia. The sword in his hand flew out with inertia, and his entire body went limp. The mental shock caused the black-clothed man's mind to go blank, and he could not think at all. The black-clothed man did not even have a way to activate the Vajra talisman on his body after berating was unleashed. He thought that he could save a Vajra talisman if his opponent was just Hichinga, but he did not expect it to cost him his life. This was the sorrow of itinerant cultivators. They could not bear to use a single talisman. It was obvious that Hichinga had reached the superb level of berating. This person did not have the strength to resist at all. His entire body was like a lifeless puppet. The steel needles in Hichinga's hands instantly pierced into the black man's neck, lips, and eyes. At such a close distance, even if it was a cultivator who had not specialized in throwing, they would definitely be able to hit their target. Moreover, Hichinga had been training for a month. The black-clothed man's eyes were instantly pierced through, and blood immediately gushed out of his eyes. Then, the skin of his entire eye sockets began to turn purple and black. The poison quickly took effect. Hichinga used the light body technique to quickly increase the distance between them. He did not rashly approach. Instead, he picked up a stone not far away from him and threw it at him. With the support of Hichinga's cultivation, the force behind these stones was extremely great. In an instant, the black-clothed man's head exploded. In the end, Hichinga continued to use the stones to smash the black-clothed man until his flesh was all sticky. He looked as if he could not be any more dead. Hichinga was relieved and went to pick up the corpse in one breath. He did not expect the first battle of his life to end like this. Poor bastard. Hichinga could not help but mutter after he finished searching the corpse. A mid-grade level 1 magic sword, a bottle of pills for refining chi, a few talismans, 3 Vajra talismans, and 5 divine strider talismans. There were even a few martial arts manuals. After the search was complete, Hichinga ignited the flames and burned all the traces here. Now, he had two options. Chapter 10. Poisoning the Devil. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The black-clothed man in front of him had obviously been lying in ambush here for a long time. Hichinga had just appeared, and the other party immediately started attacking. This meant that his target was very clear. There was a high possibility that he was in cahoots with the person chasing after Hichinga just now. They used a special communication method so that the black-clothed man could prepare in advance. Hichinga could either increase his speed and escape or launch a wave of ambush and counter-attack. The other party's perception should be quite strong. He was not far behind Hichinga. Under normal circumstances, someone at the 5th level of the Chi refinement realm would not be able to detect such a long-distance pursuit. The person following behind him was quite professional. As expected, he should be an expert in intercepting Dao. Moreover, this man was stronger than the man in black. It would be quite difficult to kill him, at least more difficult than the man in black. If there were other special methods of contact and he did not get a response from the man in black, he would definitely be suspicious. Hichinga's ambush would most likely not be effective. However, he was a little unhappy about letting the person chasing him go. Well, if he ambushed and counter-attacked, there was still a chance, but the chance was too slim. However, the most dangerous place could also be the safest place. This was the first time Hichinga had killed someone, and it was someone who was stronger than him. However, he did not feel uncomfortable at all. Especially when he picked up the stones and smashed the black-clothed man's body into a bloody mess. Parts of the man's face were flying everywhere. Hichinga did not feel disgusted at all. Instead, he felt a sense of comfort and satisfaction. With such a successful first try, Hichinga's heart was already a little restless. Regardless of whether he chose to stay or go, the most important decision was to be quick. He had to make a decision immediately and then come up with a plan. Hichinga was slightly agitated and chose to stay. This was probably the first time in more than 20 years that he had been so reckless. For the past 20 years, he had never left the Tianxian sect. He had been living in seclusion for a long time, but in the end, trouble still found him. It was clearly just an ordinary transaction, but it had actually provoked such an evil customer. If he dodged it this time, would he be able to dodge it next time? Even if he managed to dodge the Zhang family, what about the next family? Moreover, his talent had improved now. If he wanted to break through to the Foundation establishment realm in the future, he would definitely have to compete with many people for resources. They would definitely become enemies. He could not just hide. As long as he returned safely from this sect mission and comprehended what Su Zime had said so that he could pass her master's assessment to become a true legacy disciple, his status would soar in a single step. He would have a strong backer. Of course, all of this had to develop in the best direction. Only then would Hichinga be able to see the results that he wanted. After making up his mind, Hichinga did not wait any longer and immediately began to make preparations. He took out the blood-stained clothes of the man in black and used the blood and ash to write on the ground. Bnoel.m, if you want him, come to Black Tiger City. After he finished writing, he dripped some colorless and odorless poison on the message. This was one of the poisons that Hichinga had bought. The toxicity of the poison was very strong and could penetrate the body through the skin, making it hard for people to defend against it. Most importantly, once the poison seeped into the human body, they could no longer use the spiritual power in the body. The faster the spiritual power circulated in one's body, the faster the poison would seep into one's body. It would even mix with the spiritual power, rampaging through one's body. At that time, even if the great immortal descended to the mortal world, it would be difficult to save the victim. Finally, he placed the piece of clothing that had been dyed red on a huge rock and pressed it down with a stone. Hichinga also dripped some poison on the rock. The so-called Black Tiger City was actually a city not far from Hichinga's destination, Beacon City. Of course, Hichinga would not go to Black Tiger City. He only left this message to attract the attention of the burly man who chased after him just now. The ambush location was right below. Should he set up an ambush on the spot or leave for a period of time? In the end, Hichinga chose to lay in ambush on the spot. After carefully observing the surrounding environment, Hichinga found that behind this huge rock was the best hiding place. Unfortunately, he did not have a strong restraining breath technique. Otherwise, Hichinga would lay in ambush here. Currently, his strongest ability was berating. It could forcefully intimidate the opponent's mind, causing the opponent's eyes to be dull and their thoughts to instantly go blank. They would be unable to think or move. Just like the man in black earlier. He was in the midst of launching his fiercest attack, but in an instant, he was like a deflated balloon. The scene instantly became chaotic, and he completely lost control of his body. This was the power of berating when it had reached the superb level. One had to know that this was only the most basic spell. If a higher level spell was cultivated to this level, how terrifying would it be? Hichinga had lived for more than 20 years, but he had never heard of anyone who could cultivate basic spells to the superb level. At the very least, he had never heard of anyone accomplishing that among the miscellaneous disciples and outer sect disciples. As for the inner sect disciples, they were all great cultivators in the Foundation establishment realm. They were not people that Hichinga could speculate about. The only places left to hide were the tall trees on both sides. The next question was, how was he supposed to hide his figure since he had never learned the breath restraining technique? This was the most important part. If he was discovered in advance, he would probably not be far from death. Hichinga thought about the few common perception spells he had seen in the sect. The person following behind Hichinga was able to keenly sense the change in Hichinga's speed. He must have a very strong perception ability. It was very likely that he had cultivated a very powerful perception spell. Whether it was a talent or a spell, most of them were based on their breathing, temperature, and aura. Hichinga had come into contact with some of them, but he did not learn them. After all, the spells in the sect were not free. Some of them required points, and some required spirit stones. Hichinga was poor, so there was no way for him to learn those. In addition to his ordinary talent, the spells he could cultivate in the past 20 years were only 2 or 3. In the past 20 years, the highest proficiency level he reached was proficient. The main reason was that he wanted to learn alchemy at that time and worked hard in that area, but in the end, he failed. Hichinga looked at the horse that had stopped beside him. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he gave it a few hard slaps on its butt. After the horse felt the pain, it instantly raised its front legs and let out a long cry toward the sky. It then quickly ran forward. The horse left a mark on the ground that was neither deep nor shallow. Chinga nodded in satisfaction and then jumped onto a tall tree to hide.